Boom. What is up, everyone? We are live and back with Mr. Harry Zykos. Dude, you haven't been on the show in like months, right?
I don't think actually this is I think we're popping a cherry here. I think this is my first time.
Really? I thought
Yeah.
you've been on my show like in 2021, right?
Maybe on the sidelines. I'm pretty sure I've been like definitely in the chat since 2021 without question.
Yeah, I know that. But for some reason I thought, or maybe I was in another stream with you before. I don't know. But anyway, guys, if you guys don't know, this is Mr. Harry Zykos. He is a realtor up in New York, and he does a fabulous job. And he's got a long history and some good experience underneath his belt. And we're here to talk to you guys tonight about something a little bit different than just crypto, more kind of like underneath like the financial macro sector, I guess you could say. Because if you guys haven't noticed, ever since 2020, financially, things have been a little, I guess we could say, loopy, right? And Harry, I know up in New York, you've seen some of that stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen market corrections and then corrections getting completely erased from demand. It's all, it's the biggest reshuffle that occurred from a population exodus, then to a population circle coming back into New York. We've seen an exodus in 2020 for a good, maybe about 9 to 12 months. And then all of a sudden, like demands just came back. People learned to live with the cause celeb of 2020. And now it's supply strict, like there's no supply. Like people can't get leases, people can't get good quality housing, interest rates are increasing. So, the song that was being sung by the players in the real estate market, New York, Florida, wherever, honestly, they're changing. And I think it's important to keep everybody on some of this messaging, because I don't know about you, I like having a roof over my head. I like crypto too, though. So I think it's important to have some cross communication between the messaging.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And as you know my history with real estate. I used to be a landlord and did it all myself. And my reasonings for exiting, because at the time when I exited that one, I think it was a good decision. In fact, I think you recommended me to exit on that one, right?
Yeah, you and I had like almost like a 50-something minute phone call about it.
Yep. That realtor too. He was
it was a scumbag, that guy that you were telling me about.
Piece of work, man. Piece of work. But yeah, guys, like the truth is, crypto is great, right? And crypto, like, especially if you're a techie kind of person, it's gonna you're naturally gonna be interested in it, right, guys? And other reasons too. Permissionless, nobody's gonna take it from you, yada yada yada. Most of my viewers, they already know this kind of stuff, Harry, just like we do. But if you put all your eggs in one basket, guys, you're taking a risk that could potentially be it could at least say not to your maximum benefit, right? And one thing that is scarce on the planet is the amount of land that we have. And what coincides with land, Harry, correct me if I'm wrong, is real estate, because that is literally on land. So what are some reasons that you think housing and you can say what type of housing too is a good investment for people out there, regardless of age or whatever?
Yeah, well, I just want to like insert the typical like nondescript disclaimer. We're not attorneys, we're not financial advisors, nor tax consultants or certified public accountants or anything like that. I can only give you real estate advice, and everything is very nuanced, sub-market driven. Your local area dictates a lot. The local economy dictates a lot. Jobs dictate a lot. I think it starts with where you want to live. If you're remote, like a majority of your community is, Josh, I would say if you're remote, choose where you want to live. Decide where is a base if you want a base. If you want the digi-nomad lifestyle, that's great. But I want to just shine some thought onto something, because a lot of people we know in our direct circle have moved to Miami in the last year. And I'm pretty sure a lot of their lease renewals are coming due right now. And a lot of the Miami market doesn't benefit with some of the policies that are not to my benefit, like very fair market policies where there's some sort of cap on increases for lease renewals and things like that, and a portion of the Miami rental market, right? So what's happening? I'm hearing this regularly in Manhattan, in Miami, it doesn't matter where. Somebody's lease is up. It's a free market building, a little bit newer, higher quality of lifestyle, doorman, elevator, sexy lobby, parking, all that shit, right? Pardon my French. What happens? Their rent has gone up 30%, 40% in a single year.
Some of them, dude, some of them, believe it or not, down here have literally 2x.
Dude, it's
So
insane.
100%.
And okay, supply and demand. I'm a free market capitalist. I'm pretty sure you are. We like the idea of permissionless. We don't like regulatory bodies telling us what we can and cannot collect. If the market can give us our highest price, sure, we want our highest price, and in a fair way too, right? But if you're sitting there and you're planning out your poker chips of your wealth stack, your skill stack, you're planning your life. You need like housing security. It's one of the very finite levels of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? If your rent
Yep.
is increasing 40% in a year, I would be having a panic attack if I didn't 3x, 4x, 5x my money. And if you're that good at trading, God bless you. But most people tend to live off of one income source. If they have some moon math in the, with one of their bags, okay, cool. But we need to have some realistic conversations with what we're able to produce, what we're able to afford, and maybe have some personal finance like decisions being made now before interest rates either keep increasing or something. Maybe it's getting a roommate. Maybe it's finding a market that, like, for example, I hear Aventura is a much better market for renters in Miami. I'm still learning Miami. What are you hearing?
I believe so. I know Boca Raton, which is like, and Aventura is too. They're both like suburbs of Miami. I know prices have gone up there, but they haven't gone up anywhere near to the extent that they have in Miami. And I mean, because people are coming here and they're going there too, but the concentration of where people are coming is directly in Miami, right? And so those places are better. And dude, if I'm being honest with you, the reason I'm in Miami for business purposes and then also for like some I guess you could say like mentally, right? Because it's being in this area, and there's other guys in my group that I think feel the same. Like being in this area is kind of like a competitive, it gives you like a competitive edge. But make no mistake, I don't want to live the rest of my life here. I do want to have a permanent residency in South Florida, but it'll most likely be 30 minutes to the north or 30 minutes to the northeast somewhere. It won't be directly in the city, just in the same way like in New Orleans, back when I was in New Orleans, I was like, I'm not going to stay directly in the city for the rest of my life. I'm going to go to the suburb.
Yeah, I think planting the outskirt method is probably one of the better like balances between having a quality of life versus having the convenience aspect of your lifestyle. Right now, one of my good friends, he was when he moved. This is pre-pandemic when the prices were very attractive. He's kicking himself in the ass so much right now because he didn't purchase in Fort Lauderdale when he made the move. He was comfortable. Actually, I have many cases like this that I can describe of people going from New York to Tampa, New York to Sarasota, what have you. And he's paying top of market. He was able to secure the interest rates before the Fed pulled the interest rate rug on the entire incentive of getting into real estate was the long-term fixed interest rate debt in essence, shorting the dollar.
Yep.
Like paying back a 3% interest rate is very easy. If the real inflation was 8-9%, now they're reporting 7-8% on overall CPI. We already know that that's probably 14% for all we know.
Yeah, if not even maybe even higher than that, right?
Yeah, so you increase interest rate across that. I mean, it makes the deal less attractive on a monthly payment basis. And if people's incomes are not rising in tandem, there's a problem. So I want to start ringing alarm bells that people have to start really planning their long-term housing life out sooner than later. And I think if they do it wisely, they can do it somewhere where they can collect a little bit of rent, maybe 2 to 3 units. It's not going to be the most attractive building. Maybe you do it to fund your apartment in a more attractive building, but you have some risk associated with what that monthly cost will be. And ultimately just to kind of open some thoughts and ideas, because South Florida is in demand, let alone the rest of the world. Anyone is going to need housing, and interest rates are changing. The market's changing. Everything is not moon math anymore. It's not, you want to be cautious when you're making these moves right now. For sale, for lease, doesn't matter.
Agreed. And let me check in with the chat, and then also I have something that I wanted to talk about as well that had to do with what we're just talking about. But before I check with the chat, real quick, I wanted to make a point. Like, so they're raising interest rates, right? And we've seen them do this before in history when we've had when it's been necessitous for them to do so. And regardless whether they raise those interest rates or not, inflation is not going away anytime soon, right? And I think that at this point, you are literally better putting your money into something that we know is going to be either a commodity or something that's long term, that like, for example, real estate. You know that tomorrow we're not going to wake up and everyone suddenly is no longer going to need housing, right? Being that we're human beings and we live in a physical body, we're always going to need housing, right? And at this point, if you're paying a mortgage and you can afford it, it's, in my opinion, it's better than putting an equal amount of money into the bank, into like a checking or a savings account with a 0.03% interest rate. In fact, honestly, everything's so clown, and we're in like peak clown world at this point. I mean, you'd literally probably be better off like investing in hot dogs and freezing them than putting your cash in a bank account, as like silly as that is, right? But let me check on the chat real quick. Christian Soto, good evening. Cody Moose and Who says, what's good, guys? Christian Soto says that the guitar is beautiful color. And XC roll on top of the evening, gentlemen. Is it a Les Paul?
It's a Schecter. I got a few guitars back here. Let me move this. Hold on, wait. No, wait, there we go. Yeah, I have
you got a couple of them back there.
I got 3 of them.
Koya says, what up? Chad Donerschwan says, what is up, boys? XC Roland says 750,000 Z estimate, which I think is from Zillow, right?
Zestimate. Yeah. Oh God.
But 1.2 million listing. What housing's looking like in his area? And then speaking of housing in a specific area, New Horizon says, I live in Michigan. It's not exactly quote unquote designer or hard quality area, but a mortgage of 460. It's easy to find reasons to stay. LOL. What do you say to that?
Don't ever sell. I mean, one thing my father taught me years ago is you buy real estate. It's hard and difficult to buy real estate successfully. You buy it, you cash flow it to the end of time. You make improvements when you have to, and then you just rinse, repeat, and then you refinance it whenever it's attractive to pull money out to go reallocate towards another investment that pays you. How are we looking on the chat? We still rolling through it?
Yeah, I mean, we got Randall says it's the beast from the east.
It is the beast from the east.
Indeed. So, dude, let's talk about the Fed and what they're doing. That announcement today. How do you feel about that? Did they raise it 75 basis points or 50?
They're announcing a 75. I'm just double checking this because my short-term memory.
And he said it was on the table, but we already know what that means.
On the table means that it's happening, and they're just slowing it down, like their implementation of the policy.
Yep. Yeah, they always try to tell us before.
Yeah, 75 basis point. That news came out like a day and a half ago.
Yeah, and so isn't it funny how at the beginning of all this, they said that they were going to slowly raise it by 25 basis points incrementally over time, and we go 25, boom, 75. How do you think that's going to affect things?
I think so. Generally speaking, as a nationwide, very abstract generality, not speaking to very sub-market focused dynamics, because some areas are very rich and they don't play by the same overall dynamics to the median ranges of the country. Every 1% increase in interest rates has an approximate 10% downside effect on real estate asset values. So, and because it affects the purchasing power, and that monthly payment is affected, because that's really what it comes down to. That every end consumer of housing cares about. What's my monthly nut? What's the amortized taxes, mortgage, insurance, all that bundled up, that monthly payment, and then you have utilities, and then they have to pay HBO Max, or their Patreon subscriptions to Guilty or something like that, whatever it is, or the developer direction. So like that's all they care about, and people are spending maybe a third to a half of what they take home net after tax every month on their housing, and then they got to eat, and inflation's to the roof.
Yeah.
So that either leads to an inflationary crash or a deflationary crash. An inflationary crash is like a crash up, right? What George Gammon talks about, hyperinflation, where our nominal prices will be mooning, but the real, adjusted for inflation price will be still crashing.
Yeah. And the opposite, deflation. So speaking of the average house consumer, like could you explain to them briefly what we're talking about when we say that the Federal Reserve is increasing the interest rates?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically the Fed benchmark rate is the lending rate that the Federal Reserve lends their money to commercial banks and retail banks. That is the bank entities that don't operate necessarily in the real economy like you or I are the entities responsible for deploying the money printing, basically. Yeah. So they borrow money at a specific rate from the very non-federal Federal Reserve, and then they lend it out to the free economy, to the real economy. And this cheap money policy that we've been benefiting for in excess of almost 14 years now, since the 08-09 crisis. But we've been obviously chopping sideways if you look at, overall interest rates accordingly. What I'm saying isn't rocket science, or anything revolutionary, but it's just, we're just reporting on it. We still have historically been in some of the lowest interest rate periods. Right now, we're circling to interest rates that are on target with like 2011. This is before Bitcoin. This is before Bitcoin was even on anyone's radar, I didn't first hang out in the Bitcoin Center and Financial District until like 2013, 2014. They called it Satoshi Square, whole other topic. But anyways,
and it was new. It was kind of early back then still too, But yeah, so basically, guys, the whole system that we have, our monetary policy, it's so jacked up at this point that like every tiny bit of interest rate hike that this so-called Federal Reserve does has the potential to do some crazy things. And so in my opinion, like they're gonna swing it the opposite way, or they're gonna try to swing it the opposite way by raising these rates, and then we already know what's gonna happen when those rates raise, right? And so I'm gonna take a wild guess and assume that after everything crashes, or after everything has a possibility to crash, from them raising the rates, that they're going to have to immediately flip the switch back the opposite way, just like they have time and time again. And it's just like, man, it's literally just like a kicking the can down the road over and over and over again. But it's like every single time they do it, you get less and less time in between these acts of kicking the can down the road, right? So how many more times can we do it until it just gets like too bad? And to me, it's looking like it's pretty bad now. What do you think about that?
I think it's going to get really bad once we start seeing the Federal Reserve buying ETFs and stocks directly. Okay. I think that's the time where I'm getting out of as many equities as I can, because at that point it's just fake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay, cool. Like, remember when Venezuela was going through what they went through initially, and how their stock market had just like astronomical returns, but it was always just about the money printing?
Yep.
I think it gets to that point. I mean, the Japanese openly, talk about it, right? They actively buy their own equities, and Japan might be the first economy to really go through its struggles. So we'll see. But the yen's falling like crazy, if I remembered correctly.
It is, and I mean, well, the yen's very correlated with the dollar, because the Japanese government is like the second largest, the first largest purchaser of treasury. Second of treasury bonds.
Yeah, between China, they're always like trading between like top three.
They have a boatload of U.S. Treasury bonds, right? So that's why. But it's not just them; it's literally every country, right? Europe, it's happening really bad in Europe, and everything that I see from like all they's macro guys online, they're saying stuff that like it's going to happen in Europe first, and then it's going to swiftly come here soon after. Daniel says, Florida man beat the mouse. Good grief with the Florida man. New Horizons, the house was bought for $50K from a family friend. It needs work though. That's a good price for a house, man. Holy smokes, no matter where you are.
Absolutely, dude. Hang on to that.
Yeah. Nestor says about 25% of my borrows have already not qualified due to interest rates getting them above DTI. Crazy. Yeah, crazy. Crazy 10 years in mortgage here. So is that 25% of his borrowers? Is that a lot?
So I think Nestor is a mortgage broker, from what it sounds like. That's extremely scary. So I mean, basically, Nestor hasn't seen an increasing interest rate environment in his career. He's been in an environment where it was the free money game for a while. So I think you remove the free money spigot for at least a couple of years. I think what a lot of my friends and I have been talking about on the sidelines, like completely like off the record conversations with like attorneys, financial people. This is not like no recommendations, obviously. I think they're just trying to pull a soft landing. And this is their version of a soft landing crash, where they're just trying to just like, oh, this plane doesn't have any more gas, but we just got to land this baby's big butt. And
Yeah.
I don't get it, man. But I think right now is a good time to have your eggs in multiple baskets. Liquidity is it helps you sleep at night for me. And stability within your monthly costs. Maybe it's not buying a house. Maybe it's getting a roommate. Maybe it's negotiating realistically with your landlord, pulling onto the emotional heartstrings of somebody that you pay rent to if it's not a conglomerate. If you're renting from BlackRock or related companies, I'm sorry to tell you, they don't care about you.
Nope.
And you probably want to start doing business with human beings. I rent from a human being that I can have a phone call with if something goes wrong. I think everyone should do the same.
Agreed. I agree.
It just so happens to be that the human beings myself, but that's a whole other topic. But that's the beauty of this industry. I think when you can collect some rent, it creates some stability, some predictability in your life. And if you get into the asset class as an owner and you have some of the leverage capabilities to your advantage, the tax incentives, talk about the Fed rugging everybody. The IRS is still incentivizing us to get into real estate, guys. That's the reality. There's opportunity funds. Yep. There's ways to make money. You could take your crypto gains, put into a qualified opportunity fund, and put money somewhere to sleep after you reinvested it, following the rules for opportunity zones, and then you could sleep on it, not pay capital gains after a 10-year hold if you felt like going in that direction.
Literally sleep on it too.
Yeah, and what do you do with your BTC? You sleep on it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. I could be looking at it the same way. You never know.
No, yeah, and it's true. It's a necessity for mankind to have a place to live, right? Like you said, Maslow's hierarchy. But dude, I don't think that I think here's what I think. I think raising the rates is going to cause liquidity problems in some areas of the economy, and I think another part of what could potentially make everything start to quote unquote crash is because people panicking because of the interest rate hikes. But where is all the rest of that money that was printed going to end up, man? Because I think prices are still going to go up. So I think we're going to have this strange two forces going at the same time, and it doesn't make any sense, which again, nothing's made sense in the last 2 years at all. I mean, we both know that, right? But what do you think? What do you think? What is your hypothesis on what could potentially happen after these rate hikes?
I think what's going to happen is going to be, it's similar to our K-shaped recovery from 2020. Half of the population or so did really well in the remote first environments, the tech environments, the high education, white collar type work environment. Those that suffered were the ones that were boots on the ground, very hands-on. Restaurateurs suffered, especially in a place like New York City, anywhere with heavy regulation. Kind of to borrow some of Peter Thiel's words, right? The world of atoms suffered heavily during the COVID lockdowns and regulations and regulatory capture from the government. The people in the world of bits did really well. From 0 to 1, if you ever read it, really good book, I highly recommend it. So I think we're going to run to something similar where the investor class, the class of people that live off of their dividends and have had generational wealth, scaling back to a point where their entry point does not matter where the current market is, and they still have cash flows. And even if those cash flows are reduced, they could still live within their means, because wealth ultimately is a ratio. Like net worth, mm-hmm. Net worth is great, but net worth is, like asset values, are great, but net worth is derived from what you make versus what you spend and what's left over the accumulation of your entire life. And if you can't maintain personal finance, good habits and housekeeping, so to speak, like I don't know how much making all this money or, Bitcoin going to 1 million will do for you if you don't know how to handle your household, handle your lifestyle, handle your baseline. And then you have to go from there, and then maybe get some exposure into the asset class. So then you don't have your rent going up 40% in a year. So thought.
I think that is a couple of very good points. Snowman Mike says, debating to buy 100 hot dogs and freeze them now. Hashtag to the moon. That's right, boys. 1 hot dog equals $1 million in the year 2023. Max Dignita says Ibanez. It's not. Someone asked that, right?
I have an Ibanez. I have a Jackson Dinky, and then I have a Schecter.
Okay, so not the blue one though, but he does have He does have an Ibanez, Max.
Yeah.
He does have an Ibanez, excuse me. Rent from real people if possible. Yes, indeed. My landlord was my gym buddy for like 2 years. Yeah, and at least like in that case, if something goes wrong, like you can actually just have a real conversation with him and be like, "Hey, dude, the AC's broke. Can you fix it, please?"
Absolutely, man. I like having a relationship with who I'm in business with long term. Like, I don't know, call me crazy, man. Like, I like a local bank. I like a local operator. I don't want to rent from conglomerate where I talk to a computer. And then if something goes wrong, nobody answers my call. And then I'm told to have a nice day.
Yeah.
And then I have to withhold renter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you hear about this in New York City a lot. And probably, I mean, dude, when was the last time have they fixed your air conditioner yet?
Yeah, they did. That took 2 months, right? But that wasn't my landlord. She probably should have put more pressure on him. But dude, everything, and talk about this real quick too, because this has to do with it. Nothing works anymore, man. Especially places that are like large mega corporations. You have to call somebody. You used to be able to, guys, back in our day, boys.
People answer the phone.
A young man used to be able to pick up the phone and make a phone call and ask for help, and someone would pick up the damn phone and help you. Now it's like press 1 to go in a circle and get nowhere and hang up and have nothing fixed for you and whatsoever. Because it's almost like nobody's working, nothing's working correctly. Anytime you need something done, it takes like 10 times the amount of time to do it. And I don't know, do people are just like walking around everywhere just 404ing like ear, like as if like 404 is perfect. I don't know what's going on, bro. I really don't. But maybe I'm just a little black pilled or something. But it seems to me like humanity is just like going screwy. And I think that in all honesty, here's something that everyone says about, not everyone, but Raoul Pal, however the hell you pronounce that guy's name, him and a couple other those macro guys say about charting, because people that like their technical analysis and all that stuff, sometimes people will bank on it. They say that TA is a reflection of the sentiment of humanity and mankind. And what have all of our and almost all asset classes, what have they been doing in the last like 2 years?
Mooning, but then crashing, mooning, and then crashing.
And so that's kind of like, in a way, we can think of that, guys, as a reflection of the sentiment of humanity right now. Everyone's just walking around mooning and crashing, I guess. But Harry, I guess, could you give anybody some advice on something they could do to protect themselves during these like crazy times?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, get your monthly fixed expenses into a fixed environment. I think that's one of the wisest things. Like, if you're couch surfing or Airbnb surfing and you're riding this wave of, digital nomad, I don't know how long this is feasible. I pray that it stays. I like the work from work movement. I also like the work from home movement. I think autonomy and sovereignty and individual worker first is amazing, especially when you're developing software. I have some exposure in the tech space that we don't need to go into currently on this stream, but I've interacted with a lot of software developers, and some of these people are absolute genius, and some of them do better at home. Some of them do better in a work environment, in a collaborative setting, especially if they have interests in leadership. For organizations, you want to be team lead one day. You want to lead a whole like product division. Like that takes you need a bunch of idea paint all over the place. You know what I mean? There's something interesting that happens collaboratively in a startup, especially most people end up at startups. Not everyone works at a FANG off rip if you're in your field. So like maybe it helps. That's a whole other tangent, but getting your fixed expenses on a predictable stream that happens through ownership. I think if you're going to live somewhere for more than 3 years, you should greatly consider getting exposure to the asset class. So at least you're paying down some equity, even if the rates are expensive. Keep in mind, if the rug pull occurs from the Fed any further, there's going to be probably some sort of crash, some sort of stock market correction. There's going to be a lot of fear, a lot of FUD, right? All these terms we're probably familiar with. What happens typically after that is a reversion to prior policy, because they only have a certain handful of tools. So I'm wagering, in my assumption of what I'm about to share is, I think we'll have more interest rate hikes that will force more of the crash landing that they want. And then they're going to come in like the knights on shining armor. We have the medicine. We have low rates.
Yeah.
And then everyone's going to be like, low interest rates. Give me the crack. Give me the drugs. And then we're going to just juice right back up on it.
Yeah.
That's when you refinance. That's when you renovate your house. That like you know what I'm saying? Like you don't do these things when you don't renovate your house when every contractor is busy. You don't buy when interest rates are like too through the moon, or you don't buy when you're desperate and like you have to do things tactfully. You know what I'm saying? So like get your hands into something, maybe scout an area that nobody doesn't really have a gauge on, like feel out your areas, feel out your neighborhoods, move if you have to, move into a different state, explore. Now is the time to really figure things out, but also get your like, in case things go wrong, bag ready. Like have your emergency fund, have that. Like that's so cliche, Dave Ramsey. Like everyone keeps regurgitating. Like I don't really need to.
Nah, but people, you need to have like a couple months backup just in case, man.
Yeah, man, you need liquidity. Like as much as we don't like fiat from like an overall, like we care about intrinsic value and sound money and
yeah, no, look, you take a couple months worth of like living expenses and you put it somewhere and you leave it and you freaking forget about it, and that is an asset to you. That's your like, oh shit asset. It's literally
like in case things go wrong. Like
yeah.
I hope you know what I mean, and that's great. Or I'd love to hear that it was 6 months to a year. With everything included. I'd love to hear you have exposure to other asset classes too. But like, I'm not a financial advisor. I shield real estate, like full disclosure. Yeah, I was super vested and super biased in real estate, but we have tax incentives along with leverage, along with appreciation, along with cash flow that we can make money within that asset class, which is why I love it so much. And we need a place to use the bathroom. We need a place to end the nightcap with. We need a place to have our dogs out of the rain. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
let's be real. We're not going to all live in a hotel. We can't be that cool. Like it's like not everyone's that awesome. I mean,
yeah,
I can't be that good of a minimalist.
Agreed, man. And that's actually at the end of this year. That's probably next my plate is to get another property underneath my belt. So yeah, I can't. I don't really think that you can really go wrong with real estate. In my opinion, as long as like your thinking is at least like long term. If you're trying to flip real estate, that's a whole different story, right? And I think you know that. But yeah, guys, I think that was some really good advice, man, and much appreciated on that. Kyle W also says nothing works. ... Yep.
One closing thought. Absolutely,
yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely nothing works. If your monthly rent payment and your what would be in that snapshot moment in time, you should really consider buying something if you can have the down payment. If you have the down payment in the bank, and if your monthly rent payment is congruent to the amortized mortgage, taxes, and insurance on the loan that you're able to get,
paying, what you would pay every month,
right there, right, exactly. So everything comes down to that stupid monthly payment, and just focus on that. If you're going to buy, if you don't want to buy, don't buy. Maybe get a roommate. Maybe change your costs up, because I think we're coming into some scary airspace, and we probably want to have some fuel in the tank.
Yeah, I think it's possible they also might be giving out some free funny money via potentially a central bank digital currency. But I guess that's probably just a conspiracy theory, like everything else we've talked about on this channel. That'll probably never happen, right? And Snowman Mike says, speaking of funny money, maybe if they print more money, things will just get better. Yeah, it probably, right? Because that is the solution. That's definitely not what got us here in the first place, and that is the solution, right?
No, we need more of it.
Right. And like you said, they only have a couple tools. Here's a question for you. Does capital flight from big equity crash usually trickle into real estate?
Yes and no. Certain asset classes within real estate are looked at as good as S&P 500 type commodities. Historically, they used to compare real estate cash flowing buildings to the treasury bills, to the T-bills. So there used to be a gross rent multiplier, like 10x, basically how you used to value a building. So we can go into it, but sometimes yes, sometimes no. It's very nuanced, and right now capital flows are very rigid. But a lot of real estate funds tend to be funded years into advance, with projects years into advance, despite short-term macroeconomic swings. So what happens day to day within like tech stocks trading or whatever doesn't necessarily affect whether or not a REIT is capitalized or funded to build a building.
Are like under like long-term contracts and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. If I'm JP Morgan and I'm building a building on Park Avenue and 47th Street, which they are currently for their headquarters, the loan to build that building was financed for years, and the commitments that's the beauty of it. They don't care. It's going to just drag out. When in doubt, zoom out. That's the thinking behind building big buildings and hoping people actually go there to work. What happens at these office towers remains to be seen. Maybe we have a follow-up episode conversation of what possibly can happen to a lot of empty office towers, but they're filling them in Miami, I hear. So that's another conversation. So
yep,
we can go on for hours. I could talk a lot.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you back. Give me that crack. Yeah, that easy, quick, fast, funny money. It's almost like crack, guys. Max says he basically lives in a hotel. COA insurance, cover your own ass insurance. Yeah, and that's itself. That's an asset. I like that. COA insurance. I like that.
I like his username, City Rollin'.
Heck, City Rollin'. Snowman Mike. Money print and oil are the best pills. That is true. And dude, the average person, they don't know even what the Federal Reserve is, man. If you guys do know, and you're here, you're blessed enough to be listening to this tonight. You're fortunate, and you're lucky in some ways, but you're not just lucky because you actively sought out information. So something you must have done in life to actively seek information and the truth is shows to your character, my friend. Shows to your character. I guess as far as what I would say, with like advice, because I mean that was some good advice, bro. That was honestly like that was really good advice. I synchronize with it. But you guys all know how I feel about the good old corn, the Bitcoin. I definitely don't think that should be like the only thing that you bank on in life, because let's just be honest. That is if you truly do believe that it's not going away and that the narrative of it is indeed true, then you know that that's more of like a kind of like a lifetime kind of long shot, right? So if something goes wrong now or in a year, what are you going to do? Well, one thing you can do other than just invest in other things is you guys can invest in yourself, get some kind of skill set that essentially can help hopefully outdo inflation, which, what do you know? We know software engineering has been outdoing inflation. So if you guys are interested in something like that, developerdirection.com as always. And then Sam says, driving around in the Bronco, we saw many corporate slaves having to work in a building. Yeah, that was funny. Hashtag Bronco life. XCD Roland says, thank you for saying that he likes your name. Any final thoughts, Harry?
Yeah, I'm just getting started on like actually creating YouTube content, so I can't wait to be more active on this platform.
Tell them where your channel is at.
Yeah, just look me up. Harry Zikos is my channel. It's just my full name. Super out there. I just dox myself out of the gates. I really don't care. In real estate, we're very public facing, so yeah, you'll find me if you want to, I guess.
Yeah, but, I'm doxed too. I mean, have you seen my new? Let me pull it up.
Well, you have haters already.
Yeah, but not that though. Pablo redid my website, and he put my name on it, which, I mean, I don't have to hide my name, but I think it's right. Where is it, Pablo? Where did you put that? Yep, he just put the name right there, which, yeah, guys, techcheat.io if you guys want to check out the new site. Harry, it was a pleasure having you on again tonight. I don't really have anything else to say. You guys already know. Oh, wait. Aside from the plug for DD, link in the description box below if you guys want to get a Trezor to self-custody your own crypto, $25 of free Bitcoin and a couple sats. Go to help the channel.
I'm going to buy one because I need a Trezor, actually.
Use my heckin' link, bro. You can.
I'm using it. Like, I'm gonna buy one right now because I just realized I got to get my ETH off the exchange. So
yeah,
let's do that. Yeah, I need your help setting it up, please. If you don't mind, I'm gonna give you a call.
Yeah, no, for sure, man, for sure. And I'll get the $4. I'll get $4 from you buying it. So I'll buy you a drink next time you come down here. But actually, by the time you come down here, we probably won't be able to buy a beer for $4. It'll probably be $12 by then because of inflation. So
one last joke. You want to hear? You want to hear a joke about currency inflation?
Yes, let's hear it.
All right, kid goes to his father. Hey, Dad, can I get 20 rubles? Father goes, 40 rubles. What do you need 80 rubles for? I leave you with that.
I wonder if someone that doesn't know what's going on is going to be like, I don't get it.
Well, I don't get the joke. Well, then you just need to increase that IQ a little bit.
I hope you guys had got some knowledge from the stream tonight. That's all we got. Later, fellas.
Peace.